Hi, my name is Maria and welcome to my channel MH Books. And I'm sorry I've been away for the last couple of weeks. Life stuff has suddenly happened and had to be dealt with and isn't quite fully dealt with yet. But I'm hoping that I will be able to get back onto the internet properly. So I've started off, this is Bank Holiday Monday, I started off by answering all the comments catching up. I've started to catch up watching my YouTube videos. I've put a couple of reviews of books. I have been reading when I wasn't too stressed out. You gotta love John Eyre for when you're stressed out though, because it's a great anti-stressor. But I thought I need to bring this library book back. So what I'm going to do now today is I'm going to film just a couple of my kind of dark horror, scary. They're not really scary. Not very easily scared. Scary reads for Halloween. I'm going to do my Victober separately because Victober sort of built a life of its own. I was meant to only read one or two Victober books, but I sort of fell in love with Charlotte Riddle. Even though I still haven't read the first book I was meant to read from her. But I've gotten distracted again. I'm going to go straight on to this because this book does need to go back. I do need to do some cleaning up. I do need to catch up on YouTube videos because it's such a tough life living in the first world. So I borrowed this wonderful book from the library and it needs to go back because it's been requested. So my favourite thing is monsters. To cut to the chase, already ordered the second volume of this. It's not published yet in Ireland. I think it might be published in the States, I'm not sure. This is a huge, ginormous, look at the size of it. Look, her head is bigger than, well, more or less the same size as my head. And I have a big head, by the way, guys. I might be big-headed as well, but I have physically a big head. It's an amazing graphic novel. I'm not that au fait with graphic novels. I've only read a few. If you want to see graphic novels, you have to see my sister, this is her redrawing a magazine cover, and it's so beautiful. The whole thing is just absolutely gorgeous. I hope I didn't show any spoilers here accidentally. This is a story about a little girl called Karen, and she's living in 1960s Chicago, and she identifies with being a wolf girl, with being a monster, and she's good reason to identify as being a monster. Life is tough, as it always is. Her upstairs neighbour, he used to always give her bread and things before she went to school, has supposedly committed suicide. So the basic premise of the story is the mystery around the suicide or the killing, or how did this woman die. So that's actually her picture. She always seems sad, and Karen is into drawing, and she draws a spiral bound notebook, so I'm not sure you can quite see the spirals there. And this is supposed to be her notebook, more or less. And there's the woman again. So she's always blue because she always looks sad to Karen. So it's a story of her life. It's a story of Karen's life. And yes, it's not over. So it has at least a sequel. I don't know if it's going to go past that. So it's very definitely not over. I know a lot of people don't. Everybody agrees the artwork in this, when you look at Goodreads, is fabulous. It is just fabulous. There's just no question about it. Others don't particularly like the narrative style. I loved it. I was reading Victober books at the time. There's two main problems with the narrative. One is that the narrative is a bit jumpy. So it's going from the neighbour story through to discussions on geometry, through to discussions on a subplot on something that's happening in Karen's life, then on to something else, about her brother. Her brother is a very big part of this book. So the narrative doesn't flow in the way that we expect a modern novel to flow. Victorian novels don't do that either. So I'm going to use Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre doesn't do that. You know, you have strange things happening in Jane Eyre when you think about it. You have her in, so this is a spoiler for Jane Eyre, but you have her in, you know, in the orphanage. It's not going to be too badly a spoiler. You have her in the orphanage. Stuff happens in that orphanage. It's not huge. It doesn't really come back up again in the story. Then you have the main plot within Thornfield, and then we have another plot which happens about 3/4 of the way through for about a quarter of the novel, and it's all about finding family and making your money, and it's all very oddly put together when you actually stop and think about it. And this is kind of oddly put together when you stop and think about it. It doesn't make it bad, in my opinion. The other thing that I find is both Jane Eyre and this book suffer from they're extremely the worst kind of thing that could possibly happen to people. So here we have a story of the neighbour, and the neighbour's story is based in the Second World War, and she's a Jew, so you can get the kind of idea of what kind of things going to happen to her. But it's worse even than a normal Jew story would be. It's horrendous. Stuff that happens to Karen, it's horrendous. Stuff that happens to Jane Eyre is absolutely horrendous, you know, and you know, it's, you know, a middle of a Victorian love novel where you kind of, you know what I mean, the worst fate that can possibly happens to Jane Eyre. And I'm sorry, I think most people know what that is, but, you know, I still don't want to quite say it in case you don't. So the worst things happen. So this doesn't mean that if you accept the story for what it is, it's overwrought. And it's meant to be. It's meant to be dramatic. And if you just go for it, if you just go for the basic premises, we want to be monsters. So, I mean, how much further, you know, do we have to suspend our disbelief? Let's just go for it. So I absolutely love this. I've ordered the second book. Can't wait to read it. Then the other book that I actually finished, which was the scary one. Hello, Tomb Raider. I just saw your comment. I will respond. I'm sorry, I'm so far behind. Oh, I did have this working for me. There we go. Probably should have put this.
This is audible.
I know it's audible. It's the Carrow Hunt. Okay, so I was reading scary books. I was going to concentrate because Charlotte Riddle, which I'm going to talk about in the next video, is famous for writing haunted house stories. So this is a modern haunted house story, okay, with knobs on. I mean, total knobs on. If you are actually a horror fan, this is probably one of the most recommended stories I can give you. Not quite for me in that I like more characterization, and I'd much rather have an eerie house described than all the action that happens in this book. But my God, if I was watching a film, this will be the one, okay? Because it is action after action after action. It's basically the most haunted building in that state in the US, I think. It's a haunted hotel. I mean, it probably has 100 times more ghosts in it than the hotel they overlook in The Shining. It is a major knobs-on story. You should, if you like all-out thrills and scares, this one is for you. And I mean, you know what, and the ghost is a serial killer, so you know what I mean. It has every single one of the typical Halloween genre. So if you want, if you see this in time for Halloween night and you want a story to scare you over Halloween night, maybe you should try this one. So it's The Carrow Hunt by Darcy Coates. I did forget to say that it's Emil Ferris who does my favorite thing is monsters. So just the very last thing, while I finish this up, I haven't gotten further in this. I will. I just haven't got around to the Slender Man. I've gotten distracted. I've gotten distracted by both Charlotte Riddle, her writings, and the genre of Victorian ghost stories. So that will be my next. Again, thank you very much for your patience. I will drink my coffee. Let the budgies in, who actually left for once. And whatever you're reading, I hope you're enjoying it. Bye now. See ya.